Something I've noted from discussions between believers is that it's all too easy for us to make strong claims about what we will do in the future, while getting hot under the collar as soon as discussion moves on to what we need to do today. For example, when considering end-time scenarios like the mark of the beast, it's easy to make statements like, "I'll definitely refuse the mark when it comes in," or "I die before taking it." We know from Revelation 14:9-11 that the mark of the beast is a salvation issue, that those who receive it will suffer the unmitigated wrath of God. So we know that the theologically correct response to this issue is to single-mindedly claim that we will reject the mark on pain of death if necessary. However, like I shared at the start, it is much easier to make bold claims about choices or sacrifices we haven't made yet than to follow through with whatever it is that we should be doing right now. As the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We humans have a tendency to side with our superego that projects the best view of our strengths and ideals onto our assumed responses to future scenarios and challenges. We desperately want to believe that we're sincere and genuine, that we have faith, and would naturally do the right thing when called upon to do so. But the cracks start to appear in our confident wishful thinking the moment we're challenged to make the right decision today. Of course, what we choose right now directly impacts any future choices we make. Paul said, "Today is the day of salvation." What we do today sends a powerful ripple into eternity. Jesus said, "Therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble." In other words, we have more than enough to concern ourselves with in this present moment, which really amounts to finding God's will and following it today. Who knows if we'll even have a tomorrow anyway? Like the man who built bigger barns in the parable Jesus told in Luke chapter 12. His soul was required of him that very night. He needed to give an account of what he'd chosen to do with his life, or perhaps more accurately, what he'd chosen to not do. What if today is our last day too? We would do well to meditate on this thought each day if we wish to make wise decisions and get the most out of the time we have been given. Staring death in the face can be just what we need to get us on track. Death brings everything into perspective. What have we put off doing? What or who really matters when all is said and done? A bit like sitting an exam or preparing for an interview. If we are about to face God and be asked to give an account of everything we've done with our lives and everything we chose not to do that we should have done, we need to prepare. Most importantly, we need to question what we've done with the words of Jesus. He said that our response to his teachings will be our judge on the last day and determine where we spend eternity. Life and death situations can crop up at any time. Who would have thought back in 2020 that we would experience a global lockdown and many of the subsequent changes that continue to transform the way we interact with one another and the system? Whether it's threats from global pandemics, climate catastrophe, fears around AI, or mounting wars and possibilities of nuclear strikes, life on this planet can't be taken for granted by any of us. And this is just the beginning of sorrows. The Apostle Paul warned that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night to catch people unawares. Of course, people will only be caught unaware because they aren't ready. They won't anticipate it coming and prepare. This could easily include us if we choose to put off doing what we should be doing because our focus is similarly wrong. You see, Jesus said things to bring the focus exactly where it needs to be. He reminded us that the kingdom of God is within us, here and now, that embracing his teachings enables us to become part of this invisible kingdom. In the Lord's Prayer, he reminded us to ask God for no more than our daily bread. And on another occasion, he reminded us to deny ourselves each day and take up the cross. Paul echoed this when he wrote about dying daily. Of course, the commitment to lay down our lives in future, for example, during the time of the Antichrist and the mark of the beast, starts right here, right now. Are we willing to die to our plans, routines, and ambitions today? Have we even bothered to check in with God to ask him what we're supposed to be doing with our time today? Is there anything we are unwilling to do or let go of for the sake of the gospel today? When the mark of the beast comes in, we will not be able to buy or sell, nor have access to system resources like transport and welfare, nor tax or insure homes and vehicles, and much more. How seriously are we thinking through the implications of these scenarios now, in order to realistically prepare for these future inevitabilities? And how likely is it that we will suddenly decide to leave everything behind and start living by faith in future when it becomes much harder to do so, if we aren't serious about at least taking steps to do this now? Jesus said that if we wish to save our lives, we must first lose them. Of course, it's easy to hear a statement like this and think, what a great concept, without having any real intention to give up anything today, whether it's our possessions, jobs, families, reputations, plans, ambitions, or anything else that we have allowed to become an idol in our lives. So the next time we feel tempted to make proud claims about personal sacrifices we intend to make in response to some hypothetical future scenario, we would do well to ask ourselves whether we're willing to quit our job working for money today, sell everything we have and give the proceeds to the poor today, and pick up our cross and share the truth with others today. If we're not willing to die to self today by responding to instructions of Jesus like these, we're probably only deluding ourselves that we'll be making such sacrifices in future, or even greater ones, when the stakes are much higher. Are you willing to lay down your life for Christ today? If so, there is an important and urgent job waiting for you, with a new boss, a new motivation, a new family, and a new focus. The harvest is ready, brothers and sisters, but the labourers are sadly few. So what are you waiting for? Like Jesus said, don't say there are still 4 months and then comes the harvest. Behold, I say to you, lift up your eyes and look at the fields, for they are white for harvest today. If you are ready to take steps to accept Christ's call, then please write to the email address that appears on the screen now. If you let us know which country you're from, we can put you in touch with some believers closest to you who have chosen to count the cost of taking up the cross to follow the Lamb. Thank you.